Hey, welcome to Bereave Studio. We are here today with Michaela Hudson, who is a grief counselor, as well as a funeral home director and embalmer apprentice, like extraordinaire, uh, all sides of the world of grief and interaction with loss and death. And she's currently in Toccoa, Georgia, which is about an hour outside of Atlanta. Michaela, thanks a ton for hanging out with us for a little bit today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
You got it. So can you tell us a little bit, maybe like, 60, 90 seconds, a little bit about what you do? Because there's actually a lot of it because you do a couple different things, right?
Right.
But tell us a bit about what you do and who you do it for.
Okay. First, I do it for God. I gotta put God in everything I do because that's the only way in that I became the person that I am today. I am a licensed funeral director, embalmer apprentice, and a certified grief counselor. Um, Pretty much I work here every day. I'm at the funeral home every day. I'm taking clients in person and virtually online. And I also am a TikTok creator. I push a lot of grief content out, genuine grief content, and funeral home content to just pretty much, relate to other people. I started off pretty much posting like funny videos, and then it kind of changed a little bit once I became a grief counselor, and I just start pushing my story out there. And I've been connecting with a whole lot of people over the world. Um, so basically, that's pretty much all that I do for right now.
Yeah, Joe, that's all. That's all. Okay. Yeah, one of the things that I noticed it's interesting on TikTok. One of the things that I noticed is that there's like this like really magnetic part of your videos that are grief related and very supportive, and the constant message of like you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then you scroll a little bit more and there's some humor around
Mm-hmm.
the funeral industry, right?
Yep.
And that that sort of combination of seriousness and humor, for me anyway, is a nice little mix. Is that intentional?
Yep.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'd love to like, let's start with the funeral director, because it sounds like funeral director came first, right? Like
Mhm.
that work was the first part of this. Can you talk a
Yes,
little bit about what led you to wanting to serve families in the funeral director capacity?
sure. So, this is something I always wanted to do, since I was a little girl. I always been kind of like morbid and into funeral homes. My grandmother, my late grandmother, um, she was a funeral freak. So when I was a little girl, she always was at people's funerals every weekend. People she did know, she didn't know, and I never went to her house, and we never went to a funeral home. So I was always around it, and I always had interest in it. And so I said, one day I'm gonna have my own funeral home. I'm gonna be working in the funeral industry. And I thought,
Hmm.
like, as I got older, that'd be something that I did straight out of high school. But I ended up going to Emmanuel University to play collegiate basketball. I finished and graduated there, and then I went to mortuary school. I only had to
Okay.
go for a year and a half. Um, and God really lined everything up to where it needed to be because even for in the funeral home that I'm in now, like, before I got here, like I got denied by so many people for people not thinking I'm being qualified. But now I'm at the right
Hmm.
place and I've been here for 4 years. So I would start working
Mm-hmm.
here while I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still here. So that's just been my calling. It's just something that God had to do on his own time and not mine. And it worked out perfect. And I graduate in November. So I
Graduate in
completed the mission.
November. All right.
Yes.
Let's go. We're like a month away.
Yes.
Gotcha. That's exciting.
Yes.
Big graduation plans then?
Really? I mean, I'm probably gonna have a graduation party because this is
Okay.
like the moment, and I'm sure it's gonna be kind of sentimental for me because my grandma was the funeral home person, but she
Mhm.
passed, so it's kind of like in a
Mhm.
way she pass the torch to me. So it's gonna, I'm
Mhm.
sure I'm gonna be sad and happy at
Sure.
graduation and for my graduation party because it just means so much to finally finish.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet. Can you talk a little bit about, obviously your grandmother played a huge, what's your grandmother's name, by the way?
Hattie, Hattie
Hattie.
Carroll Sugar.
Love it.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about Hattie's influence and maybe a little bit about uh, why she was so into funerals
Mm.
and into loss? Like, where did that come from? Any idea?
Oh, yeah. Hattie Hattie was just Hattie. She had one of the biggest personalities, the biggest heart. She was just so loving and um easy to please. I mean, I'm so
Mhm.
thankful and grateful for the years that God did give me with her, the 71 years that she was here. And I couldn't ask for a better grandmother. She led by example and she poured into everybody. She poured into me and she gave me her last. But she has always been nosy and into the funeral industry.
Yeah.
She just knew everything and everybody. Like it's
Right.
nobody that she
Right.
that she could miss. You know what I'm saying? So she had a
Mhm.
beautiful smile that lit up the room
Mhm.
and just just by her, I don't even think she knew that by her taking me to the funeral homes. I don't think she knew that how much of an imprint that it left on me that I just wanted
Mm.
to work at a funeral home and have my own
Yeah.
funeral home one day. So that's basically how it happened. And
Mhm.
when I was in high school, I started working for the Doherty County Coroner Office, and I was actually probably the only teenager in high school that was allowed to go on actually crime scenes. Like after someone had died,
Mm.
like I was suicides, homicide,
Mhm.
everything. Like I started doing that in
Mhm.
high school. So, and
Mm.
I remember when I was at home and I went to go see my first autopsy at the GBI crime lab, and my grandmother was there at the house and she was smiling so big. Um, and I remember like the dress I had on that was the same dress I wore to her funeral because I remember what she said. She was just saying that she was just so proud of me and how good I looked. So it was just like, man, she did all that up until this point. So she has definitely played a significant role in my life, and I got so much confirmation from God for that. So I'm just doing it, and hopefully that
Yeah.
her spirit continue to live through me.
Well, you certainly are doing it. That's for sure. And I love the fact that you're driven by that relationship. Um, uh, it- the fact that you graduate in a month. I said a month earlier. It's 2 months technically, but who's counting?
Mm,
Um, uh, that bittersweet feeling of
yeah,
the accomplishment and having the opportunity to remember Hattie
yeah,
and know how proud she would be because I can tell just by the way you're talking she was proud that you went to an autopsy when you were in high school. Like, think about how proud she's going to be with this.
yeah.
um so when you think about the funeral director role, right, something that you were called to do, um you're around loss a lot, you're around death early at an early age. um how did you kind of find your way into becoming a certified grief counselor as well?
So here, I'm pretty much a person like wherever I'm at, I want to make sure that I'm always adding value. And I noticed
Hmm.
like being a grief counselor was something I was going to do later on. But being here and serving families, and they ask us for grief counseling, because it got to the point where I was like, they say
Mm.
they ask so many, and we send them to someone we know in Atlanta. But in my mind, I
Hmm.
was like, I don't. I'm very big on aftercare, and we talk about
Hmm.
aftercare a lot in the funeral in the industry in mortuary school. And I was like,
Hmm.
let me go ahead and sign up and start taking some
Okay.
classes because I want to kind of
Hmm.
push this so they can stay within our means even after the
Hmm.
service because it's very like after the funeral we don't really talk to the family no more. I just like to kind of keep in my mind to keep everything in with us. um
Mm.
so
Mm.
I just that kind of pushed my purpose to do it faster. I thought it was going to be a quick process and it wasn't
Hmm.
because those classes
Hmm.
were very, very, very hard, very informative. But I took my time. Great professors, great program. I feel like that's probably the number one challenging program because I wanted to do that so I can challenge myself in every area. even
Mhm.
for counseling children. I feel like that took me the
Mhm.
longest to get because you got to be patient with kids.
Mhm.
So once I start recognizing our increase of people asking us that, I said, let me go ahead and do it so I can be that person that's here and around and that they know and that they've already gained a relationship with.
Mhm. So am I hearing you right that I mean a lot of the grief counseling work that you've done, it sounds like it serves you day to day
Mhm.
with the families that you serve. Do you then often provide them counseling services in the aftercare as aftercare, or do you do that completely separately right now?
I am allowed to do it here, but
Hmm.
kind of separate
Hmm.
because most of the time it's not immediate. It's like maybe
Mm,
2 weeks or a month or a year or 2 months. You know what I'm saying?
sure.
Like some people don't have to be like,
Right.
okay, I'm hurting. I don't know what to do. And then we'll be like, okay, well,
Sure.
here you go. And then you talk to them and that's why I do consultation so you can get a vibe, a feel of my energy.
Hmm.
And once people realize that I done went through the same thing and I call out every emotion that they've been through, they be like, oh, well, she know because I'm young as well.
Hmm.
So they be like, this girl she don't know what she's talking about. But
Yeah.
once I go ahead and drop that knowledge on
Sure.
them, they're like, okay, I
Uh-huh.
like her. So 90% of the time it
Yeah.
go well.
So
Yeah.
yeah, can you talk a little bit about that? You hit on something interesting there, and we have this conversation a lot about grief not being a linear thing, right? And grief not kicking in at the same time for everybody, right? It is not it's not day 7, right, for everybody. It might be day 180. It might be day 365,
Yes.
right? Can you talk a little bit about when people engage you for help, um, talk a little bit about kind of what they are experiencing and the decision ultimately to say, "Hey, I'm going to reach out to somebody to get help."
Okay. So first of all, like I didn't know before becoming a counselor, like how people call me and they'll say something like, "Oh, I just saw my boyfriend, you know, take himself out. What am I supposed to do?" Like people call me in the midst of.
Mm,
So, so I'm different. I'm getting a different kick from being in a funeral home, from getting just a death call,
mhm,
working as a grief counselor. Like people call me as in the process, and then and I'm glad that I had that experience in high school to be able to see these type of things in person, so I know and I relate. But it's like, I'm like on the other side of me. I'm like, what? Like what?
sure.
So a lot of people in the beginning are very shocked. Like, they're like,
Okay.
shocked, denial. Denial is the number one. I just can't believe it. Or, you just have them, they just be like a lot of people reach out to me and text me and send me paragraphs and I talk to them and I be like, let's set up a session so we can go in more of the deep side about it so we can,
Mhm,
so we can start. Because that's why I put my platform out because you are not alone. Like it's nothing that nobody
mhm,
will say that I won't relate to. But people
sure.
come and say to me all type of things. Sometimes I have clients that it just be like, I'm a grief counselor, but a lot of times it be trauma, uh,
Mhm,
depending on the
mhm,
situation. So I have counselors and people that I know. The program that I was in, we have people that we can send them to because sometimes some stuff is out of my league, you know. So I do the best I
gotcha.
can,
Sure,
but
sure.
just each person is different. Everybody is different.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. So when you think about and I'm gonna stay in the in the grief counseling for just a moment. Um, what are a couple of things that you've learned about yourself in helping people through presumably one of the toughest times they've ever been through?
How strong and how healed I am to help people and not
Mm,
cry.
mm,
Because I've heard, seen some crazy things, and I'm like,
mhm,
what? But I always pray and ask God for strength and guidance.
mhm,
Even in each of my counseling sessions, I always ask for strength and guidance and to protect the energy of the room, that type of thing. Because something you don't know who you talk to. Um,
mhm.
but yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So you feel that you're you're strong, the strength that you have right now, and you said healed, right? Which tells me, and not knowing you, but just reading a little bit about you, which tells me there might have been some things you needed to heal from.
Mm-hmm.
Is that part of kind of what has led you here? Is the need for your own healing?
Yes. I always say this. I said I just want to be something and somebody that I needed for when I was going through things.
Mm.
So I literally was praying last night, and it was like God almost confirmed to I had to suffer early so I can be
Mhm.
this vessel for everyone else and not myself.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
now I'm able to take myself out of the equation and put their needs first and serve them because I don't been through it. I'm at the acceptance stage.
Mhm.
I'm at the bottom. It take years and years for
Mm.
people to get to the acceptance stage because you have to
Mhm.
you have to be like I said, take yourself out of the equation and think of it from a whole different perspective. Like, the other day, I was thinking about my grandmother and I just thank God for the years that He gave her. Like I look at
Mm.
her death, the perspective of her death is different. Like she died peacefully. She knew
Mhm.
God. She had a relationship with Him. I believe that she's in heaven. It don't get no better than that. There are people
Mm.
that have, she didn't get murdered. She didn't get
Mhm.
it. We don't know what
Mhm.
she ain't missing. So it's a
Mhm.
lot of stuff that pertains to people's death. So I'm
Mm.
thankful for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It's it has been several years. Sometimes that helps people, sometimes that time doesn't help people, but it sounds like the time has allowed you to kind of bring it all together and understand like um what you can be grateful for. And it sounds like you found that, which is a pretty admirable thing and
Mhm.
probably pretty tough to do. So there's a lot of people out there that are in a various stage of grief for various reasons, right?
Mhm.
For the people who haven't found maybe the strength or the understanding of how to find somebody like you, what would you say to them? Hey, outside of hey, call me.
Mhm.
But what would you say to them in terms of trying to bring them to a place where they feel like they could be ready to get help from somebody like you?
You don't have to suffer anymore.
Mm.
It's okay not to be okay, but you can come up out of that place because you are looking at an example of it. Like every
Mm.
emotion that you are feeling, dump, depressed, suicidal thoughts, overeating,
Mhm.
whatever you use as your coping method, you don't have to live your life like that. There is life after death. That's what I would say.
Yeah, no, that's strong. And I the fact that you just said you're looking at an example, right? I mean, this is firsthand experience. You're not just telling somebody how to feel. You're saying this actually can be done.
Yep.
Which is a I would assume, and again, I'm making a lot of assumptions here, not having been in that specific spot, but that automatically makes me feel like I am not alone,
Yeah.
right? If I'm there's somebody who has been through that. Um, when they decide to to talk to somebody like you, a lot of the times the just getting started is the hardest part. It's like
Mhm.
a diet or an
Yep.
exercise
Yep.
routine
It
or a new
sure
habit,
is.
right? You just got to get started. Any advice on how to just get started? And any particular resources or things to do that you have found that are effective and helpful?
For myself, when I get to a point where I
Mhm.
know it's time to elevate, I always say, when you get tired of yourself, and when you get to that
Mhm.
point where you just be like, you know what, I'm tired of living like this, then you'll make that
Mhm.
decision.
Mm.
Clear your distractions. I don't know if you are spiritual or not. You don't have to be, but just continue to do your best and to show up for yourself. And showing up for yourself and getting help is the number one thing that'll benefit you right now.
Mm. Yeah. I love it. There's certainly those markers, and I think of like all those, creating habits, lifestyle changes,
Mhm.
all of those things that
Yeah.
uh, usually there's a spot, and I'm glad you mentioned that. But usually there's a spot where you kind of look in the mirror and say, "Hey, this can't go on any longer. It's
Yeah.
time to raise my hand and say, hey,
Yeah.
I need a hand. I need a little bit of help."
And even if you don't know
Um,
what to say, like I have a lot of clients that be like, I want
mhm,
a session, but I don't want to talk. So
mm,
normally in that instance, when I pretty much open up about me and who I am and I start talking about the
mhm,
dark side, that's when I get
mhm,
replies because I relate to what you can't say. So
mhm,
I just, like I said, I pray before my sessions for me to say to God to give me the ability to say what I need to say to this person because
mhm.
everybody is different.
Yeah. So, and I hadn't thought about that, but a lot of times when I think about any sort of counseling or therapy, I think about my therapy journey. It's often about me talking, right? And some days I don't feel like it, and I'm sure there are many days, especially getting started, where you just don't feel like talking. But you're almost giving permission now, and I hadn't thought about this, but you're almost giving permission and saying, "Hey, it's okay to get into a session
Mm.
and not talk.
Yep.
Like that's an okay thing."
That's good. That's deep.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. So as people are working through this journey, because obviously, and as you've already alluded to, it's very much a journey. Um, any advice about um how to move through that journey, knowing that everybody is different? Are there any tips about how to live a life that, as you're moving through your journey, that might be helpful to folks that are going through it?
Um, I would say, I had a session last night and I said, um, you don't move on from the person. The
Mm,
society makes
mhm,
us look at it as if you leaving your person, you're moving on, you don't care about them, get yourself together. No, it does not operate like that. You don't
mhm,
move on, you move forward.
mm,
So, cause that's like me. I'm 4 years out, and 4 years in.
mhm,
Wait, maybe 5 years. And I would never forget about her. I would never
mhm,
forget about her. I would never move on and put my grandmother off of anything. But I
mhm,
had to say, Grandmama, I'm tired. I'm about to get myself together. Let me put this
mhm,
obituary down. Let me put these pictures down because we sometimes
mhm,
we hinder our healing by triggers. I
mhm,
had to realize her obituary was a trigger. I had to realize that when I looked at her pictures in the phone and videos, I was hurting myself because I made
mhm,
myself feel like if I don't look at her, I don't care about her, I don't love her, I'm putting her away. But when, as a experienced counselor, with me saying that, that's not true. I had to tell one of my
mhm,
clients to put your obituary, put all those people obituaries under your bed and breathe. Did you
mhm,
breathe today? So work
mhm,
on your triggers and
mhm,
just kind of start showing up for yourself and doing the best that you can and change your start speaking life and positivity over yourself because it is
mhm,
possible to get up out this situation, but you go day by day. You might do good for a couple hours, celebrate your accomplishments.
mhm,
If you
mhm,
did good half a day and then do the other half, you still woke up this morning, you made it through. Let's do better the
mhm,
next day. Every
mhm,
day is a challenge, but you don't move
mhm,
on, you move forward. That is your
mhm,
mindset.
mhm. Yeah, and I love the idea. You're almost talking about, in the way I've thought about that, mostly in other areas of my life, but it's, celebrating little wins,
Mhm.
finding the little victories in the day, when there are struggles, and making sure you pause to celebrate those, and they might not be things uh, that are that exciting, but sometimes just to make it through the
Yeah.
day, that could be a huge win. And taking some of those little wins, celebrating them, and making them feel as big as they actually are, seems like it could be super helpful in just kind of segmenting that journey, and like you said, day by day,
Mhm.
right? One day at a time. Um, as you think about the work, in terms of the grief counseling work, that you've done. Um, is there anything that has been surprising about the work from the time you started it to the time, I mean, to now? Anything that kind of caught you off guard, or was pleasantly surprising, or almost blew your mind in some way, about people, about grief, about the work?
Um, Not really. I think the only thing that's shocking to me, but it's just regular thing that I'm just learning. Like a lot of people
Hmm.
don't want to pay for counseling.
A lot of people don't want to. Is that what you said? Don't want to pay for
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
what I
Can you
did,
say more about that?
what I did for that before I opened up, I went on the website and looked like the salaries and how much people charge this and that.
Hmm.
And I didn't want to start at a high amount because I want to be for everybody, but I
Hmm.
can't be for
Hmm.
everybody.
Hmm.
Sorry. And then, so I just kind of started off, like with consultations. I do consultations with everybody because I want to make sure that I know exactly what you need.
Hmm.
Because sometimes when I talk to people, they might need a trauma specialist. I'm not a trauma
Hmm.
specialist.
Hmm.
I do offer other things like, mentorship, self-care, sessions and different stuff like
Hmm.
that. But, some stuff is just out of my league. So I'm like,
Hmm.
thank you for your consultation, but I'm going to refer you to someone else, that type of thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
To make sure we're going down the right road. No, I don't want to waste anyone's time. But where my prices are right now, I'm think I'm okay, and I'm gonna stay with that because you pay
Hmm.
for what you want.
Sure.
And I say like this, like, we sometimes we spend our money on things that we don't need. So a lot of times we
Hmm.
have to kind of
Hmm.
reevaluate and get yourself together and be like, what's better for me, this or that? So and that's what I say, like God send me the people he needs. So I don't be worrying
Hmm.
about a whole bunch of people because I don't need a whole bunch of people. I just need the right
Hmm.
people that are on the right time. Sometimes I do have clients that I see this week, might see them next month or every two. You know what I'm saying? But I know it's a
Sure.
process because they're hurting.
Sure.
They're hurting. So I don't take nothing personal
Hmm.
because I know what's
Yeah.
going on.
No. Yeah. That's interesting, and it kind of goes back to anything self-care related,
Yep.
right? It is tough to spend money to go to the gym. It is tough to spend money on food that's probably a little bit healthier than not, right?
Mhm.
But it's all part of it's all part. I mean, it's a lifestyle change, right? And it sounds like what you are talking about is very much a lifestyle change.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Yes. And I say that
Yeah.
because like even for myself with starting a business, like I had to do that. I had to clear my
Hmm.
distractions. I went cold
Hmm.
turkey. I focused, I locked in, I saved my money and I invest in
Hmm.
myself. The biggest investment
Hmm.
you can make is in yourself in all
Mm.
aspects of life.
Yeah. Yeah. For people who are maybe considering work in grief, or considering work in the funeral home industry,
Mhm.
even, uh, maybe it's something that they've been interested in, um, but are doing something else right now. Any words of advice to kind of getting started, because you got started with heavy influence early on, right?
Yeah, I did.
So, and any advice to people who are thinking about dedicating their lives like you have to supporting others?
Of course. I would say make this your last day doubting yourself or anything that you
Mhm.
felt and make the rest of your life the best of your life. And whatever that is in your head, go ahead and pursue it and do it. Time is short. Life is short and time
Mhm.
don't wait on nobody. So get your hands wet first. I wouldn't
Mhm.
suggest anybody to just jump in any industry, especially the funeral industry, without knowing the ins and out. Because people just look at it as a front side of us just serving the with the hearse and the cars and the limos and the
Mhm.
horses, and it's very very dread. It can be very dreadful. We put in a lot of
Mhm.
hours. And you need
Mhm.
to realize or know it. Can you handle being in the prep room? Can you deal with bodies? It's a lot that go into this.
Mhm.
It's not easy. And even with grief counseling,
Sure.
I just same thing. Get internship. See if you can get
Mhm.
on with somebody to see if that's something that you really want to do because this is it's a lot. As anything can be a lot, but it's just if it's your calling, if that's what you really want to do and what's on your heart, because dealing with people and people energies is very big. So if you
Mhm.
have the calling for it, do it. If you don't, you don't. But don't waste your time doing something that you don't love. Wake up. You need to
Mhm.
wake up and make sure that you're doing something that you love. No matter if you got to move,
Mhm.
leave this house, go this place, save to go that where, stay down until
Mhm.
you come up and pop out with results.
Yeah. Yeah, you just took that way further than, death care and grief. That's like, that's like life coaching right there. So thank you for that.
Yes.
Uh, I got a little pep talk. I got a little free advice there. Thank you. Uh, awesome. Michaela, this has been great to get to know you a little bit. For folks that want to follow you, you mentioned TikTok. Where exactly can they find you?
On TikTok, Michaela is Michaela L Hudson. Instagram is K Hudson is CHAE Hudson, and I think that's it.
Cool. And your website, themichaelahudson.org, still a
Yes,
good spot.
yes.
Great, and we'll link to all that. We'll
Okay.
link to all that in the notes as well. Um, this has been fantastic. It's been a pleasure to get to know you. A pleasure to follow you on TikTok, by the
Thank
way.
you.
Um, thanks for the work that you do, obviously, and thanks for the support of the families that and the people that need your support.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.